Welcome to Om Times TV, a division of Om Times Media and Broadcasting. Welcome to Ascending with Venus Castleberg, a space where we explore the journey of spiritual awakening, expanding your consciousness and raising your frequency to create a whole new world. We'll dive into the possibilities that open up when you choose to follow the whispers and trust your inner knowing. Each episode is designed to guide you in expanding your awareness, tuning into your intuition, and discovering the magic of your life every day. We'll talk about living aligned with your soul's purpose, going beyond limitations, and creating a life and a world worth celebrating. You are here to embrace who you truly are and step into the infinite potential that's waiting for you. Let's ascend together. And now, here is your host, Venus Castleberg.
Hello, beautiful people. How are you today? Thank you for being here. If you're here live, please say hello. I love to know that I'm talking to some people. That's awesome. And you are welcome to call in and ask questions anytime, 202-570-7057. Let's say there's something in your life you'd like to kind of talk through, get a little bit of coaching, facilitation, or you just have a question about something that I'm talking about. By all means, give me a call. I love talking to people, and I don't bite. Hi, Samantha. Welcome. So, the gap in the gain. So some of you might have actually heard of, there's actually a book out there called The Gap in the Gain. And it's by Dan Sullivan and... sorry, I can't remember the other guy's name right now, but I often have talked about it before in different ways. Like I'll talk about judgment versus gratitude, right? It's the same thing. It's the same idea. It's that, we tend to get more of what we focus on, right? So if we're in a state of judgment, then we tend to get more judgment and judge more, right? But if we're in a state of gratitude, then we actually tend to get more things to be grateful for. So the way that they talk about it in the book is, if you're focusing on what the gap is like something that's not working out the way you want it to. And I love when I set up a topic to talk about, because inevitably that day or a couple days before, I'll have more of that come up for myself and be like, okay, is this really important, right? But I was literally looking at my year last year, and maybe you did this for yourself. You kind of have some targets and goals for 2025. And a lot of times people look at, okay, where was I in 2024? And what would I like to focus on or have my targets be in 2025? And I talked to a lot of people in the Facebook group at different times, and we all have things in our life that's not working out the way that we want it to. You might have gifts and capacities that you don't know how to take out in the world. You might have a spiritual business and not been able to really generate enough cash to make it a viable business. Maybe you have touched in on your psychic development a little bit, but it hasn't really grown in a long time. It was just a spontaneous awakening, and then there hasn't been a lot of growth. Notice how easy, and it is easy because this is what we're trained on by everybody, family. Think about school, right? When you went to school, you were graded, and an A was good and an F was bad. But you were never encouraged to look at what's the gain, what's the blessing underneath this, what's the beauty underneath this. What did you learn from having an F? So I'm going to tell on myself a little bit, and maybe some of you can relate. So testing, I was really smart But testing for some reason always made me anxious. I don't know if I was just anxious because I was around other people and they were anxious or whatever, but testing always felt like I couldn't remember things. And so I started to develop a roving eye, so I'd be like looking at my neighbor's paper and being like, what are they writing down? Maybe they know better than I do, right? I think it was English. I'm not entirely sure. I can't really remember what class it was. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was English. But my teacher saw me doing that and managed to pick up my test in class and rip it in half and then send me out to the hallway. And I got like a 0 on that test, but then I got a D in that class. Now I could easily focus on, wow, I got judged, singled out. I mean, at the time I did, it was traumatic, right? Like, so everybody was, had watched that, I was feeling mortified like that happened. And then that was actually my very first D in any class that I'd ever had. And I share this because I can look back at that and be like focusing on being mortified, but what did it actually teach me? It actually showed, like it actually showed me not to cheat. Like I learned that cheating wasn't the answer, and I definitely didn't want to get caught cheating again. And so that was a gain for me, right? And then I was able to like get good grades based on what I knew and trust my own knowing, right? Trust that I could actually handle a test. But we can either focus on like, oh, that was very embarrassing, and it was. Or I can look back now and be like, oh, I think I actually, and I don't remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure that I stopped like cheating and stopped like looking at other people's papers during tests and stuff like that. Because Lord forbid that happened a second time, right? Plus, I got a D. So we're taught from very young that an A is good and a D and an F is bad. An A and a B is good and a D and an F is bad and C is average, right? So we're taught to judge ourselves. We're taught, and we are constantly being judged and graded by our teachers, by our parents, right? Instead of, can we acknowledge what we gained? Can we acknowledge where we are in life, like how far we've come? I mean, think about your life and who you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and how much have you actually changed? Did you know that we forget how much we've changed? And then we're constantly like looking for the next pillar or the next summit to reach, right? Because we're like, oh yeah, I got better in that, but now I want to get better in this. So we're not really acknowledging how far we've come. So I was looking at 2024, and I really noticed that in 2024, for some reason, I got on the struggle bus. Like I started making things hard and difficult, and like I felt like I needed to work extra hard, and there was just all of this judgment and lots of focusing on what wasn't working. Like paychecks weren't enough. My body, I wasn't healthy, or I didn't feel healthy because I wasn't really working out. I was just constantly focused on the gap, the things that weren't working. And when you're in, I'll say my niche, right? When you're in this spiritual realm, we'll say, right? And let's say you're wanting to create a spiritual business with your spiritual gifts. A lot of people, they don't put a lot of value in that, right, for themselves. So I'm always grateful for these lessons, however hard they are at times. And I don't think there's the universe is out there teaching us lessons. I think we're giving ourselves challenges to overcome. Like I really do believe that we're the ones creating it. So, but I had to like struggle, right? And I had to like really notice. If you've ever heard me talk, I think you probably get a pretty clear idea that I'm a very positive, upbeat, grateful person, right? So for me to be in the gap, for me to be in the darkness, for me to be in judgment was so not me, because I have for most of my life been really grateful for my life, just for living, not even for like things specific, but like grateful for my home and my bed and my animals and my loved ones, right? But I've always, most of the time, we'll say most of the time now, most of the time I can stay in a state of gratitude, right? I can stay in the gain. I can focus on the gain. But I had some pretty big targets last year, and I had somehow gotten really attached to those targets. And when I didn't reach them, I kept like making like I'm doing something wrong. I'm not on the right path. Maybe I need to pivot. Maybe I need to change direction. Like maybe you have that too. Like I have that in spades sometimes. Like I'm like, it's not working as fast as I'd like it to, so it must mean I need to change. And I need to change something. Instead of, what if like we can have peace in the process? We can have peace in the journey. We can have peace in the adventure of living, and let it unfold the way that it's meant to unfold. Maybe slowly, maybe fast. Some things are fast and some things are slow. But are you willing to keep going and again have peace that it's all happening for your highest and greatest good? So I know when things don't happen super fast for me that I like things fast, and I like new beginnings, and so I've been known in many years of being in business to completely destroy everything and start fresh, move, start fresh. I'm really big on like, okay, this isn't working the way I want it to, so then I must need to change something. So I'm not shy of change. I'm not shy of doing something different. What I actually have been shy of is sticking with it until it works. And sometimes you have to be in that, like, okay, what is the gain right now? Like, I'm learning something that I'm not strong at right now. I'm learning patience. Patience is not something I would use to define myself at all. As a matter of fact, when my husband and I first got together, started dating, he made me a pumpkin pie. And when the pumpkin pie came out of the oven, he said, now we got to let it rest for 2 hours. I was like, rest? What's that? He's like, yeah, you let it rest so that it can cool and it can set up. And I was like, no, it's cooked. It's out of the oven. That means I can eat it. So some of you might know what resting is. I did not. And then he did the same thing with like turkey, and I was like, no, the turkey's out of the oven. It's time to eat it. Like resting? What's this resting thing? So like I said, patience, not my strong suit. But what if we could have patience and peace in the process of this unfolding of our lives, of unfolding of our gifts, unfolding of our businesses, unfolding like this blooming, blossoming, right? But it's like a flower doesn't, it probably seems like it does, but if you think about like the actual maybe we can even think about a rose, right? So a rose, hi Kathy, welcome. So a rose comes up a rose, and then it's not like, hey, it doesn't just bloom. Like it might seem like it does that, but actually it's like, if you watch a time-lapse camera, it actually like one petal at a time, right? So what if everything that's going on in your life is happening in this divine timing, in this divine order? And I don't know if you have the same experience, but I find that if something's not flowing and there's not an ease to it, then I'm like, oh, there's something here I'm trying to force, or I'm trying to like make it happen faster, or I get like, again, that impatience, like, oh, there's this great idea, it must be now to do this great idea, instead of maybe asking a question, is now the time? And then following that knowing that you might get, that might, a feeling of heaviness or lightness. Heaviness is it's a lie, so it's not actually true for you. And lightness is it's true. That's a tool from Access Consciousness. So if we tune into our knowing, to our intuition, to our like gut feeling about something, and just be like, wow, maybe it's not about destroying everything like I do or have done and starting over because it's supposed to be something different. Maybe it's just enjoy the process, enjoy the unfolding, enjoy as it comes together. And then as things start to come together, again, sometimes we have to just be patient. Like we want the instant so bad. Like, I mean, I don't remember when you were, this is probably dating me. Some of you might be around my age, where there was these little, I think they were like little seahorses or sponges or something like that, but they didn't look like anything. And then you added a couple drops of water, and then poof, they were instantly like an animal or it's like, we are so trained that it's supposed to be instant, right? Like everything is instant. And so if it's not instant, then we're like, oh, I must be doing something wrong. I must need to change something. I must blah, 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 blah. I must. Sea monkeys. Yeah. So, hello, sorry. Back to my youth where I've always late to things now. That's funny. So welcome, Kimberly. Nice to have you. Doesn't matter. Late. There is no such thing as late. A magical being is always right on time. But again, that's a great example of focusing on the gap. Oh, I'm wrong because I'm late, instead of being like, well, am I late or am I just right on time? Like the gain. Is it the gap or the gain? Are we going to judge ourselves, or are we going to be grateful? Like, hey, I'm here. But as I was looking back at 2024 and it not really turning out the way I wanted to, and how I had lots of struggle, and like I just had this like energy of like, wow, that just was a lot harder than I'm used to. Because my life, I'll be honest, has been very blessed. Of course, I've had horrible things happen to me, but I've just always been able to look at things as if it worked out in my favor, because I know it has. Like there's so much I learned and so much it taught me, right? Those hardships taught me so much. So I'm looking at 2024 and I'm like, wow, I was really, really, really focused on the gap. There was just not enough time, not enough money, not enough of whatever, right? And I was working really hard. I was really tired. I was exhausted, actually, so there was a lot of this energy, but I was also constantly looking at what's wrong, judging it, and in this state of like, it's not the way I want it to be, so I must be wrong, or I must be doing something wrong, or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then, I kid you not, probably within a month of the end of the year last year, I went to my husband and I said, whatever this struggle bus is that I've been on, I'm getting off of it now. If you still want to be on the struggle bus, that's up to you. It's your life. But I'm getting off because this is not how I've lived my life. This is not how I'm going to live my life. Life is too short for me to be in this, like, nothing's enough and I've got to work harder. And I'm like, what can I be grateful for? Right? And just being in that space of like true gratitude for everything, true gratitude for every paycheck, true gratitude for time, true gratitude for my animals and my friends and my students, and right, like all of those things. And as soon as I made that conscious choice to get off the struggle bus, to stop making things hard for myself, because we're the only ones that do that. We're the only ones that make it hard for ourselves. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that bad things don't happen, but how we respond to those things is totally up to us. It's the same thing as people seeing a glass as half empty or half full. It's just a choice. You can look at it as a learning experience, or, that it helped you. So I'll give you an example of something that maybe, I'm sure some of you women out there have experienced it too. So I was abused when I was younger, sexually, emotionally, mentally, all of it, right? And some of you might have heard this story, but up until turning 18 and becoming a junior counselor for kids, I was probably a little bit more in the victim energy, like, oh, I can't believe this happened to me, and blah, blah, blah. And then I became a junior camp counselor at a Bible camp for kids. And I remember my cabin, I had 11 girls, 10 out of the 11 girls had experienced some sort of abuse. And I know that none of them would have opened up to me if I hadn't first, let them know that I get it and that they were safe, right? They had a profound healing, knowing, one, they weren't alone, that they could tell somebody, that they trusted, right? I didn't go and make a thing of it, but they had somebody they could talk to that they probably had never, ever talked to anybody about, right? And in that moment, I remember actually thanking the universe, thanking the divine, because I knew I could really relate to them and that they could really relate to me. Now, your reason might be other different reasons. There's different reasons. I also know that the earlier stages of abuse when I was young, also made me like draw a line in the sand and just be like, no more. That's not happening anymore. And so that didn't happen anymore in my life as soon as I made that decision, right? But I know that having that experience then showed me I don't really want that experience. And then I was the one that took control and stopped it, right? So that's the other thing. Like, how often do we create these scenarios so that we can see ourselves empowered, or we can choose something different, or we can, just have a different experience, right? So I share that because I really feel like it's so easy to focus on the gap. It's like I said, it's what we're trained to do. Focus on what's wrong and judge ourselves and judge the universe and judge whatever. But that judgment kills possibilities. It kills what's available to us if we were to just start seeing everything as a game. And it's in that book, I highly recommend that book. So I'm always recommending books because they change my lives on a regular basis. But From the Gap, or The Gap and the Gain is the name of the book. And in that book, the guy's talking about he's got twin 2-year-old daughters. And one of the 2-year-old daughters wanted to play with the plastic spoons in the kitchen. And so he just gave her all 5. And then her twin decided she wanted one of the rubber spoons. And so now she's focusing like on the one rubber spoon that her sister has instead of the 4 or 5 that she still has in her hand. So she's not noticing the gain of having 5 spoons in her hand. She's only seeing the one that she's missing. And that's so true. That's what we do all the time. We focus on what's missing instead of what we have. Like maybe you're facilitating a class and you wanted hundreds of people to be in your class and you had 5 or 10 people show up. That's 5 or 10 people more than you would have had if you didn't have a class at all. But notice how you can so easily focus on, oh, there wasn't 90 more people in it that I wanted. And instead of being like, wow, I have 5 to 10 people's lives that I can change right now. Yeah, never to talk about anything. Yep. Yeah, I get it. But that's why you have to look at, okay, what did I learn from that? What did I gain from that? There was something that you gained from it. Even if you can't see it right now, if you keep looking, you will find it. So I had a friend, Dr. Dane here. He is one of the founders of Access Consciousness. And he was sexually abused when he was a child as well. And when he was asked, did you create that so that you could stop the abuse? He was like, wow, I actually did. And that guy never did abuse again. That guy actually ended up, I think, going to prison or something like that. Not because of what he did to Dane, but like he just never was able to like hurt children again, right? So how powerful are you? How many of you have changed something by being willing to be the one that happens to, so that you can be the energy that actually changes it and changes its trajectory? So I know that to be the case for one of the people who abused me. He never abused anybody again. So like, was I willing to be the one that made that energy stop so that the other children wouldn't be hurt? And again, you have to look at this for yourself, but you can look at everything in your life. And if you ask to see what you gained or what you can be grateful for about it, you will find it. But if you keep focusing on what you've lost or judging it or focusing on that one spoon, then you will never see that you have another 5 spoons in your hand, right? So there is something that you gain from it. You just have to be willing to look for what you gained and ask the question, what did I gain? So, yeah. Awesome. Kimberly, that's great. Yeah. A lot of us have helped others because of our trauma, because of what we've gone through, right? And things that we wouldn't be able to help people with or even relate to people if we hadn't gone through it, right? So that's, I know this can be a little bit of a heavy subject if we're but it's only heavy if we're focusing on the gap, if we're judging it somehow. It is lighter when you can find something to be grateful for. Focus on the gain. What did you gain from it? Cool. Yeah. Yeah, totally. It's true, but then it's just a constant like, okay, there's that. I'm focusing on that spoon. Oh, this is a great trick. I'll share this trick and then we'll take a short break and then we'll come back and do a visualization helping us get tapped into the gains and gratitude. But so the same guy wrote the book. He also told his kids, like, let's do this. So every time you go into the gap about something, you lose it. So we're skiing and you're complaining about something about skiing. Okay, we're done for the day. We're going home. you're playing with your iPad and you start complaining about your iPad, okay, you lose it. It goes away. It needed a bunch of them. But I was actually at the gym this morning, and I got into the Gap for a minute, and I was like, okay, I'm in the Gap. I can tell I'm in the Gap about something, and it was just my husband trying to coach me at the gym, and I was like, okay, I can focus on the Gap, or judge, or get into resistance or reaction about this, or what's the gain? And I thought about this guy and his, like, what he did with his kids. And I said, okay, so if I'm going to focus on the Gap here, let's say I lose it and suddenly I can't go to the gym, or I lose the ability to move my body, or I lose the ability to get stronger or be strong, right? So as soon as I saw that, I'm like, okay, no, I'm not going to focus on the Gap. I'm going to focus on the gain. I'm happy my body is moving. I'm grateful I have the gym, right? So I was able to turn it in a moment because I thought about losing the ability to go to the gym. And I was like, okay, no, like if I was skiing and I started complaining, and then the rule was, if you start complaining or something's not working, then it's the end of your skiing day. I think I'd think about complaining a lot more carefully. Awesome. Right? Oh, that's so good. Okay, so thank you all for your comments, and thank you for those of you being here. I really appreciate it. We're going to take a really short break here, and then we'll be right back, and we'll do a guided visualization just to help us get into like more gratitude, more gains, more things to appreciate in our lives.
Om Times TV. Imagine becoming a super influencer. Reinvent yourself, invest in your brand, and then manifest your success with a robust spheric approach. Om Times Media and Broadcasting offers a unique and multifaceted way to become the spiritual and conscious influencer you deserve to be by putting your message across our powerful platform with its proven record of integrity and excellence. Through our produced shows, Om Times offers the opportunity to become a social media TV personality, a radio show host, an Om Times magazine columnist, and a syndicated podcaster, all in one shot. By live streaming your show on Om Times TV and broadcasting it across the extensive Om Times radio and TV networks, you become more than a host. You become an ambassador and a force for positive change. Om Times. Open yourself to the possibilities.
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour. If we could find a way to get inside each other's minds. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. Well, before you abuse, criticize, and accuse, walk a mile in my shoes.
Awesome. Welcome forward, everyone. And yeah, I really hope that added value. I think for me, it was just like going, okay, things aren't happening as fast as I'd like them to. They're not coming together as fast as I'd like them to. And can I be at peace with the process? Can I be at peace with the unfolding of my life, of my business, of my gifts, my capacities? Being somebody who is a clairvoyant medium and helps other people tap into their gifts, like that, for me, I haven't arrived, right? So even my gifts constantly get stronger and better, and but it's an unfolding, and it's a, sometimes a slight change. Right? I don't know if you know this, but when you're driving a boat, there's a navigation. Hi, Carol. Thank you. There's a navigation, right? So you put in a navigation. If you were just off a little bit on that navigation, over time, you would be way off course, right? Because you put in your heading, you put in where you're headed, and then you move that direction, right? And I learned this flying too, right? So if you're off just a little bit with your flights, you're gonna be way off, landing and all that stuff. So what if our lives are very similar, and they're like the universe is steering us in a direction, and we don't really see where we're headed because it's a very slight pivot. It's a slightly off course. It's slightly this direction, right? And there's amazing things that are coming in your life that you couldn't even predict unless you're super psychic. But even then, you can predict a timeline, but maybe not this timeline. So, and who knows what choices you make to change it. But I like to think now of like, okay, my life is magical and miraculous right now, and I'm going to enjoy every minute right now. And then I know that I'm being steered, guided, like there's a course that's being laid out in front of me, and I might not see the horizon or where I'm headed, but I know that like it's just going to be this adventure, right? Just like when you're sailing your boat, you don't know what's going to be between here and your destination. Like what things might you see in the ocean, or like I've been on really big boats and really big swells. Not the funnest thing. I wouldn't recommend it for anyone, but it's very nauseating. But again, like what adventures is the universe desiring to have you experience? And if we could just let go of that it needs to look a certain way, or that we're losing something in the process, and just enjoy the process, have peace in the process, in the adventure, I wonder how much more we would just enjoy the present moment if we could focus on the game. What are we grateful for? Awesome. So for those of you with me now and in the future, we're just going to do a little guided visualization and close the eyes and allow ourselves to just relax and breathe. Relax and breathe. You close the eyes, relaxing the shoulders down the back. Relax and breathe. Let's start our visualization today by lowering our walls and barriers, even the ones we don't know about. Again, a wall and barrier tends to keep us separate from our awareness. And interestingly enough, walls and barriers kind of keep us in that energy of the game. Like, I'm unsafe, or something bad will happen if I lower my walls and barriers. Instead, what if you could lower your walls and barriers and be aware of everyone and everything, and just know when not to be in that place, right? And the game is awareness. The game is learning to trust your knowing. Breathe in, exhale out. And relax. and breathe. And I want you to imagine yourself standing at a very long hallway. And this hallway has many, many doors. And I'm not going to put a limit or a parameter on the doors. We're just going to let you walk down the hallway and come to a door that will offer you the greatest healing right now, in this moment. Just notice, observe. Maybe you have a feeling. You might see it, but you might also just know what kind of a door is it. What does it look like? How big is it? What is it made of? What size, shape is it? What color is it? Is it carved? Does it have some sort of design or decoration on it? And when you're ready, I want you to open the door and just feel that your guardian angels and your spirit guides are with you for this healing today. When you open the door, you step inside and you look around. And what do you see? Maybe it's a time in your life when you had an experience, or maybe it's just a representation energetically of something. But as you look around, I want you to notice where you go to first. What do you notice? So, do you notice that something's off? Something's not quite right? Or do you observe the beauty and possibility? And wherever you go first, it doesn't matter. It's not right or wrong, good or bad. But perhaps this was an experience in this lifetime that you have always seen as a gap or have always judged. Maybe something you did when you were a child or that happened to you when you were a child that you made wrong, you made yourself wrong for. So for some of you, it might be uncomfortable, but just stay with me. Notice, remember your guardian angels and your guides are with you. You're safe. You're just observing. Right? We're just observing this situation, not putting ourselves into it, just observing. And if you did immediately go to the gap, so let's say you ended up somewhere in nature, but then all you could see was like there were dead leaves on the ground, or there was this one rotten plant, or like what did you perceive in that space? or this experience maybe when you were a child. Like, notice where you went with it. Again, no right or wrong, good or bad, but if you did go to the gap, you did go to judgment, you went to wrongness, and you went to all those things, I'm going to invite you to turn the molecule 180 degrees and ask for what's the gain? What did I learn from this experience? What is the gain? Where is the beauty? What's the beauty underneath this? So if there's one rotting plant, can you see this really lush, beautiful, happy garden or forest that is thriving, that is maybe even feeding off of this dead plant that is dying and decomposing, creating nutrients for other plants to live? Can you see how it can flip from something's bad and wrong to what's the possibility here? What's the gain? What can I be grateful for? So I had an experience when I was a child that I judged as wrong for so long. And now I can see it as it taught me that I didn't want to be like that. That I made a different choice of who I became. I broke the cycle of abuse because I chose not to abuse others. So what is the gain for you? What can you be grateful for in this experience? And if you're having trouble figuring out what that is, that's okay. Just ask your guardian angels and your spirit guides to help show you what the gain was. Maybe they'll show you, maybe they'll tell you, but they'll guide you. And it might be something that you get really clear right now, which would be awesome. And it might come to you a little bit later. Just allow yourself to just look for and ask for, what's the gain? What did I learn from this experience? And you can stay in that situation as long as you like, to see the gain, to remember what was the beauty underneath this. It may not have been fun in the moment, or there might have been a lot of guilt and shame that came up about it. But then remembering, like, oh, right, I chose not to become that person. Or I broke the cycle of abuse, or and you might be in a space where you're seeing it as a metaphor, and that's fine. You don't have to have a direct experience. It's more like, can you turn, not can you, but will you be willing to turn the molecule 180 degrees to see the beauty underneath it? I know when I see dead animals on the side of the road, my first instinct is, oh, that poor animal. And then I remember something I learned a long time ago, that all animals know exactly when and how they're going to die. All animals do. And while that might be sad and hard for us, I can remember that, oh, right, that was the way that they chose to go. They knew they wanted to go then and like that. So again, the gain. And as you begin to focus on the gain, focus on the gratitude. I want you to just observe, does everything look different? Maybe the colors are changing. Maybe the scene is changing. And there is you in a different situation. What is the situation now when you're focusing on the gain? What do you see in the nature, the woods, when you're focused on the gain? What do you see in your human experience when you focus on the gain? Even me, having a year focusing on the gap, was such a great reminder that that's just not where I live. And I can choose something different. So I don't make myself wrong for choosing the gap for the last year. But I can just be grateful for all the experiences I had and how I changed things and how much greater things are already this year because of the 2 months of being in the game. And then I just want you to thank yourself, thank your spiritual team, thank your guardian angels for contributing to helping you see what is the gain. And then allowing yourself to come back through the door. Back in the hallway. Just becoming aware of your body. Breathe in. Exhale out. Breathe in. Exhale out. Maybe rubbing your hands together. And slowly opening your eyes. Just coming back, coming forward to this new energy, this new possibility of how to be grateful for every little thing, no matter how big, no matter how small. Just allowing ourselves to live in the gain and find peace in the process. Like I said, I really hope you found some value in that and some things were able to shift for you. I know that while we might want things a certain way, the universe tends to know what's best for us and what timing is best for us, even if it's not our timing. So, oh, you are so welcome, Carol. I am so glad to hear that. Anytime. We will be here again next week, same time, same bat channel. And I'm not sure what we'll talk about next week, but I'm sure it will be something fun. I'm always looking at things that are changing for me and wanting to pass them on to you and add value to your life. So I'm super grateful for you. And we are offering a free gift, Channeling Your Higher Self. If you would like to have this webinar, it's a past webinar, we're sending out the recording, Channeling Your Higher Self, just comment higher self in the comments below, and we will get in touch to you and get that sent over to you. Love you guys. So grateful for you. Have a great week. See you soon. Bye.